All right, let's go over practice exam 1, number 10. All right, so you have f of x is given as x over x squared plus 2. Right, we just need to find the derivative for part A. So let's do that. All right, so f prime of x is equal to, right, so using the quotient rule, square the bottom. So you have quantity x squared plus 2 squared, right? Then take the derivative of the top, which is 1, times the bottom, which is x squared plus 2, right? Minus top guy, x, times derivative of the bottom, which is 2x, right? Then simplify that, you will get, right, on top you have, let's see, x squared minus 2x squared. So it's going to be negative x squared, right? Then, so that will take care of x here, x squared there, and 2x squared there. Right, you just have 2 here. So it's a 2 minus x squared over quantity x squared plus 2 squared, right? So that's our first derivative. F prime of x looks like this, right? Then we need to take another derivative for part B. So f double prime of x is going to be, all right, so another quotient rule. So square the bottom. So you have quantity x squared plus 2 raised to the 4th power. All right? Then derivative of the top is negative 2x, right, times the denominator, the bottom guy, is quantity x squared plus 2 squared, right, minus, right, top guy is 2 minus x squared times derivative of the bottom. So you have to use general power rule. Put 2 in front and keep the same quantity x squared plus 2. Raise it to the, subtract 1 from the power, so it's going to be 1, so I'm not going to write anything down. Multiply by derivative of the inside function, which is 2x, right? Right? Then we need to simplify. So first thing you do is try to find all common factors on top. All right, so you can see that there's a 2x here in the first term. Also, there's 2x in the second term, right? So I'll write it once. So 2x is factored out. All right, another common factor would be there's x squared plus 2. Since it's squared, so there are 2 of them. So I'm going to circle this guy to indicate that there's another one left. And you have x squared plus 2 in the second term too, right? So that's a common factor. So I'll just put the quantity x squared plus 2, right? So both of these guys are factored out, right? Then what you need to do next is try to pick up all the leftover terms, right? So in here, all right, what's left from the first term? First term is right here, right? You can see that there's a negative sign is left over. Also, the quantity x squared plus 2 is left over. So I'm going to just distribute the negative sign to x squared and positive 2. So you will end up getting negative x squared, right? And negative times positive 2 is negative 2, right? So those are the two terms left over from the first term, right? So we took care of this negative sign and took care of those guys, right? Nothing left from in the first half, first term. All right, so what's left over in the second term would be, right, here is 2, and there's a negative sign here, and the quantity 2 minus x squared, right? So you have negative 2 times 2, so that'll be negative 4, right? Right, negative x squared, so it's going to be positive x squared. We still have to multiply by 2, so it's going to be positive 2x squared, right? Actually, I just needed parentheses there, so here and there, right? So these guys are just common factors, and this is just the leftover terms, right? On the bottom, you have x squared plus 2, raise it to the 4th power, right? At this point, what we can do to simplify would be, since x squared plus 2 on top and the bottom, we can at least cancel one of them. So that gets canceled. So 4th power becomes cube power, 3rd power. All right, then just to clean up a bit, so on top, you have 2x. Just write that down, 2x. All right, then we can just collect like terms. So you have 2x squared minus x squared. So that's going to be just x squared, right? Then you combine negative 2 and a negative 4. So that'll be negative 6 minus 6. All right? Right? We took care of all the terms on top. And on the bottom, you have x squared plus 2 cubed, right? So that's the second derivative. All right, and for part C, all you have to do is set the second derivative equal to 0 and find the values of x. All right, so you have f double prime of x from part B came out to be 2x times quantity x squared minus 6 divided by quantity x squared plus 2 to the 3rd power, right? We set that equal to 0, right? It looks kind of bad, but all you really have to do is make sure that the numerator is equal to 0. So this boils down to 2x times quantity x squared minus 6. This guy equal to 0, right? Then only way we can make it equal to 0 is either x is equal to 0 or x squared minus 6 equal to 0. So let's do that, right? And 2 is never 0, so we have either x equals 0, so that's one x value, right? Or you can make x squared minus 6, which is this guy, could be 0, right? We can easily solve that by adding 6 to both sides. X squared is equal to 6, right? Then, to isolate x, we take the square root of both sides. But whenever you take the square root of both sides, we have to make sure to consider positive 1 and a negative 1. And square root of 6 is square root of 6, right? So we have x equals 0. And also plus or minus square root of 6, right? That's how you find the x values that make f prime equal to 0, f double prime equal to 0, right? That's it. I hope that this was clear.